Hey y'all, my name is Christian. I'm a millennial, and this is the Millennial Mind. Millennials get a bad rap for being lazy, non-productive members of society. We also get told that our opinions are warped and don't matter. This podcast is designed to express a point of view on the world as a whole, but from a millennial's perspective. I will talk about love, current events, pretty much everything that comes to mind. Come join me on this journey on speaking my mind, and I would love for you to speak your mind as well. This podcast is sponsored by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, even on platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Once again, you can download the Anchor app, that's ANCHOR, or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of The Millennial Mind. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey of speaking my mind, and I hope that all of you are speaking your mind as well. So, as you can see from the title of today's episode, it is going to be a story time, and I know you're probably wondering, what is Christian talking about? Girl, boy, let me tell you, okay? The past couple of days have been quite interesting, so I will go into it right now. Usually, maybe about 2 or 3 times a week, I like to work out. I get my little personal training sessions in, all of that. I just love it. So, I woke up at about 6 something in the morning to get to my workout at 7. After my workout, I was riding in my neighborhood, about to get to my house, and I see this stray dog, and she looked kind of confused. So I was like, okay, maybe her owner is around here somewhere. So I park my car, get out of the car, and I notice the stray dog is closer to my house. And she sees me and she's like, yes, you're the human that I want to be around. So she continues to jump on me and start wagging her tail as if she knows me. Now, granted, I have not seen this dog ever, or so I thought. I've never seen this dog before. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. So I'm like, why is this dog jumping all over me and I don't know her? Now, the dog looked a little bit dirty. And I did notice that she had some thorns in her coat, on her chin, on her body, and on her tail. So I'm thinking, okay, this dog has been through something. Let me try to get away from this dog as much as I can because I do not want anything, okay? COVID and rabies is real. Let me tell you. So I tried to go to my front door. She kept following me. And I assumed it was a she because I didn't see a little wee-wee. I'll say that. I didn't see that. So I knew right off that she was a girl. But anyway, I tried to go to my front door. She kept following me. I'm like, what is going on? This dog is keeping me captive from going inside my own home. So I called my husband. Thank God he was home. He was off from work. So I called him and told him, hey, I have a stalker dog on the loose. She will not leave me alone. She's like jumping all on me as if she knows me. My husband was like, "You're kidding, right? You woke me up from my sleep for this." I'm like, "No, this is serious. This is a true case. I'm not fibbing on this one. This is true. Come out and see." So he came out and saw what was going on. He was like, "Oh, it seems like you got a little bit of an issue." No, not just me have an issue. Both of us have an issue because, this affects you too. So my husband, he was like, just, run into the house. She probably won't follow you. So I run into the house and she runs after me, stops at the front door and starts whining. I'm like, what is wrong with this dog? And so I told my husband, I was like, we just can't leave her there. She's crying. She looks like she's been through something. Let's see what we can do. So it was probably close to 9 at this point, 9 a.m. And one of the vet offices that's a little bit, maybe about 5 to 10 minutes away from my house, was about to open. So I was like, okay, let me call them and see what I can do. Now, granted, I didn't call animal control because the town that I live in do not have animal control. So that was out the window. So I called the vet, let them know that I had a stray dog, and they told me that so now since it's a stray dog and she's around me, that it is my responsibility to take care of her. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? For a dog that I don't even know? Like, how sway? Like, how does that work? But that's what she said. She said that I could try to contact my public works department or I could take her to a shelter. I'm like, public works in the town that I live in? First of all, I don't even know why I would call public works. They deal with utilities, so how would they be helpful to me? I do not know. But anyway, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. 2, I didn't want to take her to a shelter because I didn't like shelters, and I was really eager to try to find who her owner was. And after I looked at her a little bit more, she looked pretty groomed for the most part. It didn't look like she was abused or anything like that. It looked like she was taken care of other than, the dirt on her and it looks like the thorn bush she got into. So I called my mom. I'm like, what am I going to do? She was like, well, maybe you can keep the dog. I was like, okay, well, if I keep the dog, then I'm going to have to know what she has going on. So I'm going to have to take her to the vet, make sure she don't have no rabies, make sure she don't have anything else. I thought about COVID. I do not know if pets can contract COVID. Either way, I wasn't taking no chances. So I ran her first, before I took her to the vet, I cleaned her up. So I put on some gloves, bathed the dog, tried to get as many of the thorns that I could get out of her body, which I think I got a good majority, but there was still some that was left. So after that, I ran and kind of got her some food and got some stuff for her so that she could be comfortable. Then after that, I took her to the vet. Now, granted, that vet bill was about $250. $250 and I was like, "Ooh, you gonna need, if we gonna have like this pet human relationship, we gonna have to get you some insurance, because I'm not about to pay $250 out of pocket every time you have, a little oopsie." Okay, so, but that's neither here nor there. I dropped her off at the vet, and I proceeded to try to find out who her owner was. So I knocked on my neighbor's door. Neighbor was not in sight. Actually, the door was wide open. And it was actually open for like a day. I did not go inside that door because I didn't know what I would find. So me and my husband, we say if it's open again the next day, then what we'll do is we'll do a wellness check. But I'm going to tie it all together. It's crazy. So the vet calls me afterwards and they say, oh, she's pretty healthy. She's got to be no more than a year old. She's a terrier mixed with maybe a little bit of poodle, yada, yada. I was like, okay, so that's good. She doesn't have any illnesses. She doesn't have any diseases, so I can let her in the house. So I let her in the house, and this dog captivated our hearts. When I say that she was the cutest thing, she was the cutest thing. I mean, just a good dog, seemed almost pretty much potty trained. We took her out on a regular schedule and she did her little thing in the grass like it was a normal thing. It was just wonderful. And of course, my husband is just so enthralled with the dog, and he's like, yes, here's what we're gonna do, here's what our plans are, yada yada. So we get through one overnight with her, and that went really well. The next day, my husband comes home from work because of course he works nights. And he tells me that our neighbor, whose door was wide open, is back. And she was missing a dog. And the dog was the dog that we actually took in. I'm like, wait a minute, what? So I'm like, well, her door was wide open. We didn't know what happened. I tried to knock on her door to see if this was her dog, and nothing. So here's the crazy part. So apparently, of course, that was her dog. I'll just say that. Apparently, her and her boyfriend, her meaning my neighbor, and her boyfriend got into an argument. She left the house. She left the house without her dog. Boyfriend left the house too. Boyfriend then comes back and let the dog out, and then the dog runs out. By the time I found the dog had probably been out for maybe 24 hours or a little bit less than. And she's a small dog, so something could have really gotten to her and done some damage, but thank God that wasn't the case. But, after I heard the story, I'm like, what person, if they love their dog, what person would leave their dog in the house by themselves? And she was gone for 2 days. So if it wasn't for the boyfriend letting the dog out, that dog would have been by herself in the house for 2 days, which was crazy. So, of course, we knew that since we found the owner that we would have to return the dog. But then the owner, our neighbor, said, okay, the dog, she looks great. Thank you so much for taking care of her. You guys can keep her until you're ready. I'm like, okay. And so I thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not no puppy hotel, no dog hotel. Even though I loved the dog and was very enthralled with her and wanted to keep her, of course I couldn't keep her because she wasn't my dog. So what I did was that night after we spoke to the neighbor, I texted her and said, hey, we'll drop off your dog on tomorrow. And she said, okay, thank you. Now, we get through another overnight with her, and she's still being the best dog that she can be. The next morning, which was actually this morning, it was pretty bittersweet because we had to give her up. So I packed up all her food, her dry food, her wet food, kind of got her together. And I kind of rubbed her a long time, like, okay, you're going back to your owner, but if you have any issues, let us know. Even though I know she can't, but let us know. And I felt powerless, because since I didn't own the dog, there really wasn't anything that I could do. And I wanted to give the owner the benefit of the doubt, because maybe this was just a bad situation and she was just trying to do the best that she could. On the other hand, she could be just someone who doesn't really care as much about the dog as someone should. But I opted to give her the benefit of the doubt. And that's what I did. And I figured if it happens again, maybe there's something more that I could do. But I kind of felt like a foster dog mom for maybe a couple of days. Because I helped to take care of this dog and treated her as if she was my own. And just to see the situation that she was in, I'm glad that nothing got a hold of her, and I'm glad that I found her when I did, or really she found me when I did, or when she did, or else she may have gotten into something really horrible and it could have been fatal. And the crazy thing about it is I was praying about the situation to God, as far as what was the reason for me to be tied to this dog, and I don't know much about her. And I think it was more for her than anything, just to protect her from any harm that could come her way. And that's something that, I hold dear to my heart, and something that I'm grateful that I was able to do. So I feel like she adopted me to some extent, because she kind of gravitated to me. But it's amazing how life can just throw these curveballs at you, and you think that like why am I going through this? But there's always a reason to everything. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about this whole situation? Let me know. Send me an email at mindofmillennials@gmail.com. You can also post a comment on our Facebook page, The Millennial Mind, and our Instagram page, _Millennial Mind. Remember that our podcast is now available on Google Podcasts, so make sure you tune in there. And of course, I always have a quote for you guys, and this one is specifically for those stray dogs. And it says, just because they have nowhere to go, it does not mean they are worthless. So true. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and until next week, I will see you guys soon.